students, a very warm welcome to another session of the One Shot series. Today we're going to finish poverty as a challenge and be completely sorted with it. If you want to assure yourself of the 100% marks that you're going to score in this chapter, all you're going to do is watch the video, open your NCERTs and just keep reading along. And you will be sorted for this chapter, and I bet you on that, I can bet you on that in next 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, so let's get started. I am Ankana, your master teacher for social sciences at Vedantu, hoping all of you are doing absolutely fine and amazing. Before I move on, I just want to give you a quick reminder about the Vedantu Pro subscription. Guys, as you know, the subscription gives you 100% knowledge, 100% marks ka assurance. But the best part is that it gives you unlimited live classes. All the sessions are live. Just in case if you miss on live sessions, also you'll have interactive replays where you can actually play the quizzes live. And with these quizzes, you also get an opportunity to compete with the students throughout the world. And all of these things along with all micro sessions, all crash courses absolutely free. Where the link is given in the description box. It is also pinned in the comment section. You also know where else to go, vdnt.in/ytpro. Just make sure to use the code AKEPRO. When you use the code, bacha, you will actually see that the cost that is going to come for your cost of per session is going to be almost equal to a packet of chips that you buy, and that's really awesome, right? So this is the link given in the description box. This is your code. Make sure to use it, and let's get started with a discussion of our previous session's question, which was D, all of the above. And let's have a quick look at the leaderboard. Naman, cool, Shreya Sharma and Bhumi have made it to the leaderboard. Amazing, guys. Super proud of you. For the rest of you who have missed the opportunity of being here, but that's only because you have not probably subscribed to the channel, so you're not aware whenever the sessions are coming, you're not getting the notifications, or there's another possibility that you're just putting your answers in the live chat and not in the comment section. Please make sure to do that. Okay, so with that, let's get started with poverty and its introduction. What do we mean by poverty? If I'm saying we are going to understand that how is poverty a challenge, before that, I need to understand what do I mean by poverty. See, for us, if I say, okay, what is poverty? You would say, ma'am, anyone who is poor is basically facing poverty. But then there has to be a technical definition. There has to be a bar set that, okay, the person earning, if there's a person earning 5,000, even that person is going to have multiple struggles in his life. A person earning 5 lakh rupees will also have certain struggles economically, guys, in their life. But that doesn't make them poor. Then what do we mean by poor? What do we mean by poverty? What we really mean by poverty is not to be able to fulfill and achieve, your basic necessities. When there's a lack of common thing like food, clothing, shelter, drinking water, medical care, education, which are basically necessities of life, not luxuries, right? So as I was telling you, if there's a person who's earning 5 lakh rupees a month, even that person would want to buy an Audi, would want a big villa, and roam around the world, travel around the world. So these are luxuries, guys. These are not necessities. So even for that person, there's a possibility that 5 lakh rupees may also seem less, and that person would feel that, hey Bhagwan, mere paas to paise nahi hai, I don't even have money. But the real challenge is not that. That is not a person we will call poor. We would call a person poor and person facing poverty being a victim of poverty when they're not even able to fulfill the basic necessities of their life. Okay, as I was telling you, it has both economical and social dimensions. Now, what do we mean by that? Whenever a person is facing economic setback, whenever a person is facing through poverty, that person has to suffer not just economically, which is very obvious, but also a social challenge to be a part of the society. And that's what we are going to understand through this chapter. See, if we talk about who are these people who are poor, especially in the Indian context, there are people who do not have land, right? Landless laborers in villages. Then people who live in jhuggies in urban areas. So this is for rural. This is for urban, like example of all the sectors, right? Then daily wage workers at construction sites, child laborers in dhabas, rickshaw pullers, domestic servants, cobblers, etc., who make just the amount to feed themselves if possible for twice with 2 meals in a day, which is very, very less. And if we actually look at the context, I mean, like the way population of India is, 27 crore people are living in poverty. Every fourth person you meet in India is a poor. And that is what shows the severity of this challenge for us. That is what makes it the biggest challenge for India to overcome. And I think that is probably why Gandhiji had also said that India, despite of being free from Britishers, has not really truly achieved the meaning of freedom, because it will be free only when the poor people are free from the human sufferings, when they stop suffering from all these problems or these challenges in life. That is the day India will truly be free. Now, as I was telling you, that there are multiple dimensions to it. So let's now talk about how social scientists see poverty as. Okay, so which poverty has many facets. Okay, it has many you could say dimensions and directions to it. So social scientists look at it in various ways. There are various indicators. Okay, there are various indicators that they have pointed out, that they have kind of concluded on, that these are few indicators. If missing, then people are not going to be known as known to be above the poverty line, known to be not poor, but like in general doing well for their lives. Okay, now if I talk about these facets, usually we take income levels and consumption. Now, what do I mean by this? So these guys basically see that what is the amount of money that you are earning and what is the amount of consumption that is done by you. For example, even if I'm earning 12,000 rupees, but my consumption is of 6,000 rupees, then the next 6,000 rupees is basically surplus for me. It's saving for me. So I'm not poor. It doesn't matter how much I'm earning. It matters how much I am spending. If I'm earning 1 lakh rupees, but my expenditure is 1,20,000 rupees, or let's say 98,000 rupees, then I'm not really doing very well. I may be still struggling in my life. Let's say I have a family of 15 people and I cannot survive even with 70,000 rupees because I have to feed 15 people, and that is a lot of expenditure, that is a lot of consumption of the resources. So the idea is that the income level, the money that you're earning, has to match with your expenditure, and that is a very important facet that people determine your take as an indicator of your poverty. Now, if I talk about other indicators, there are other social indicators like illiteracy level, lack of access to healthcare, lack of job opportunities, access to safe drinking water, sanitization, all of these things, sanitation, okay, not sanitization, sanitation. So all of these things is basically some other indicators that we have taken into consideration, that the social scientists have taken into consideration to understand whether a person is poor or not. Now, when you do an analysis of poverty, which is based on social exclusion and vulnerability, it is becoming very common now. Now, what do I mean by this? So, let's understand social exclusion and vulnerability on this. Okay, what is social exclusion? But a social exclusion you may have seen is basically that if I am rich, I wouldn't want to participate in anything with a poor kid. Or in general, a poor person is in general left out by the better off people of the society. That is socially excluding these people. Now this is both a cause and a consequence. What do I mean by this? I'm basically saying that social exclusion is one of the causes why poor people are continuing to be poor. Why? Because they are excluded from the facilities. They are not given the facilities which may have improvised their conditions, because other people are taking it off and not letting them participate into it. The benefits, the opportunities, right? All of these things are taken away from the poor people, which means it is playing a cause, because ultimately what may have helped them rise above from their level is not being accessible for them. But because they are poor, it is a result of that as well, and that is how it is becoming a consequence also of all their problems. Okay, now because of all of that because of the social exclusion, the amount of damage is done. Okay, it is this actually causes more damage. then the income could cause. Now what do I mean by this? Let's say a person is earning less, but socially they are accepted in the society, then they wouldn't feel so excluded, then the problems that they're facing wouldn't be of this level as it is now. But the social exclusion is causing more, is hampering them more than the low income is hampering their lives. Now I want to talk about vulnerability. What do we mean by that? Vulnerability basically means the greater possibility of certain communities or individuals of becoming or remaining poor in coming years, which means who is more exposed to this problem and who will suffer more because of this problem. Okay, now vulnerability is not just determined on the basis of, okay, this person seemed to be earning less and that is why this person will be suffering more. No, there are multiple factors to it. Example, in terms of how much assets does a person have. If a person is not earning a lot but has a lot of assets, they will not suffer as much, right? Then education. If a person is coming from a poor family but is well educated, then the person has the capacity and capability in himself or herself to rise above the economic level and the strata of the society that they are belonging to. Then also health. Poor people usually, you will see guys, are suffering a lot through health issues, so which ultimately leads them to spending more on their health. There's so many other reasons, okay, etc. So health is also there. Then job opportunities, etc. All of these are something that they miss on because of being belonging to this sector. So all of these things, lack of all of these things is also something that determines vulnerability. At the same time, we also see that whenever there is a natural calamity, whenever there is a disaster, who is more exposed, who is more in danger? So we also see degree of exposure to any danger, right? And based on that, we have determined that the people from backward castes, individuals like widows, physically handicapped, are more vulnerable. In fact, the deadliest combination would be a landless laborer who is belonging to a backward caste. Socially and economically, both the ways, he is the most vulnerable, falls in the most vulnerable sector. Now talking about the poverty line. What do we mean by poverty line? Bacha, it is based completely on income or consumption level. Again, as I told you, how much are you earning, how much are you spending, all of that. Now what basically happens that we have determined a minimum level, which means in order to not fall below the poverty line, you have to at least earn that minimum amount. If you're not earning it, you're falling under this. Okay, now based on this, the desired calories requirement. What do I mean by this? So we do a calculation. Okay, we see that in urban areas people need 2100 calories, and in rural areas they need 2400 calories. Why? Because they do more physical work over here, so more calories are required in rural areas. Okay, now based on this, we multiply it with grains and everything, what will fulfill their calorie requirement for the people, and then we say, okay, then 10,000 rupees is required by every person in a month to be able to achieve this amount of consumption of calories. And these things, these are other few requirements of life, that is multiplied in monetary level, and then all of that is added, and we say, okay, this is the amount that a person needs to earn in order to be fine, in order to survive just fine, and that is the minimum level set. Okay, now this minimum level actually varies from country to country, Why? Because obviously guys, everywhere there are different kinds of, in developed countries the living standard is higher. In developing country like India, the living standard is not so high. For example, a car is not a luxury in USA, okay, not, which means a person owning a car can still be poor in USA, but in India it is a luxury, which means if you have a car, you are luxurious, you never at all can belong to the poor section, and you can never fall below the poverty line, which is not the case over here. Similarly, what happens in rural areas, the money would be less, but in urban areas it is more. If you see, the calorie required in rural areas is 2400, but still the money required is 816 rupees. But in 2100, we need 1000 rupees in urban areas. Why? Because it is more expensive. The cost of living is high. cost of living, and that is what varies from village to city, and from city to city, and from country to country, and that is on basis of which we determine the poverty lines. Now, if we talk about the poverty estimates, the incidence of poverty in India was around 55% in 1973, which is declined, which is a good news. Okay, it's a very good news that it has now gone to 45% and now down to 21.9% in 11 to 12 in the year 11 to 12. The average annual decline is 2.2 percentage point during 2004 to 5 and to 2011 to 12. However, the percentage is decreasing. But the problem is that the number is increasing. Why? Because the population is also increasing. It's simple. When there were 100 people, out of that 20 people were poor. Okay, but now we have 200 people. So even if it's just 10% of that, earlier it was 20%. Okay, now even if it's just 10% of that, it still is making 20 people, which means the number of people who are still poor is still the same. Okay, now guys, we have already spoken about that what vulnerability means, and we also spoke about how certain group of people are more vulnerable when it comes to exposure to the poor section, exposure to poverty. Now we're going to talk about these vulnerable groups. See, there are two kinds of groups: division on basis of social group and economic group. So scheduled caste and scheduled tribes households are vulnerable groups socially and economically. Rural agricultural labor households and urban casual labor households without any landless laborers and all of these things. Okay, now as I was telling you that inequality is not necessary to exist only in society. It can even exist in family. What I mean by this: in a family, a woman, a child, maybe elder person, all of these guys are more vulnerable than the other people who are younger, maybe men of the society, men of the family. They would have more access to the resources that exists in the family compared to these people in the same family. And probably the money that is being earned, let's say 100 rupees is being earned, then only 20 may be spent on them and the rest of the 80 would be spent on the other people. Okay, now proportion of people below poverty line is also not the same for all social groups. We see that for these classes, it is more socially, and this is more for in economical basis. So that is what is making these groups vulnerable, and is creating a segment, a section where we see that is a clear differentiation. And similarly, how we spoke about, there is a difference that exists between two countries. Similarly, difference also exists between two different states. Okay, the proportion of poor people is not the same in every state. Every state does not have the same amount of poor people. For example, Bihar and Orissa are the poorest states of India with poverty ratios of 33.7 and 37.6%. Okay, now the problem is that along with rural poverty, urban poverty is also very high in states like Bihar, Orissa, MP, UP, in all of these places. So it's not just village people who are suffering, but also the urban people. Okay, now the lowest incidence of poverty is found in Jammu, Kashmir, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and West Bengal. Now the point is, what has helped them improve? So, but in Kerala, we have seen a focused, it has focused more on human resource development. They have developed the human beings as resources, educating them, taking health care, gender equality, all of these things has improved the human resource development in these states, which has ultimately improvised their economic level. West Bengal land reforms measures have helped reducing poverty. So, we have seen that landless laborers suffer a lot. So, if land reforms are there, then these people are going to get some benefit out of it. So that is what has helped in West Bengal. Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, public distribution of food grains is responsible for improvement, which means the calories intake that we were talking about, which will help, which will ensure good health. All of these things are ensured in these two states. Okay, now we will talk about global poverty scenario. How does the scenario of poverty looks globally, worldwide? But the World Bank has defined poverty as people, for the people who are earning less than $1.90 per day. People who are earning less than $1.90 per day are considered to be poor. Okay, so there has been a substantial decline in global poverty. However, it is marked with great great regional differences. So just like how it exists in different states, as I told you, it exists in different countries also, and that is what we mean by great regional differences. It means different regions have different scenarios in terms of poverty. Some countries have it more, some countries have done really well, some countries don't have it at all. For example, China was really poor but has gone way higher. We will discuss about this in details. US in general is not so poor as such. The living standard of an average citizen is pretty high, but that of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh is not so good. Most of the people in Bangladesh in fact are below the poverty line, which is very sad. Okay, now all of this is a result of rapid economic growth. Now what has led to this, whatever we have right now? Okay, at the same time, people have also invested in human resource development. What has happened in Kerala also, and that is the major reason why China and countries of Southeast Asia have been able to fight with the decline in the have been able to go ahead with the decline in these poverty scenarios. But you wouldn't believe that in 1981 in China the poverty was 88.3%, which has gone down to 0.7% in 2015. That is the difference that they have come down to. In fact, in between, in 2008, it was somewhere around 14-15%. And from there, it has gone to 0.7%. Why? Because they have developed their human resources. They have worked on the human resources development. Okay, in countries of South Asia like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, etc., decline has not been as rapid, but it has been there. Okay, poverty in India has also shown a higher decline than the national estimates. Okay, there's a great decline. Okay, in fact, in sub-Saharan Africa, poverty is in fact declined from 51% in 2005 to 41% in 2015 in 10 years. But there are also countries like Russia where the poverty has actually increased. Why? Because these are mostly socialist countries, and as a result of which they have not developed as much, in fact gone the other side. Now what are causes of poverty? What are certain factors that is leading to all of this poverty in India? British colonial administration. Bacha, we know when Britishers went, they kind of ruined completely the economical scenario of our country, right? And that is one major factor. They ruined the traditional handicrafts, discouraged development of industries, as a result of which the people of India were not at all standing on their feet and were not established economically. Rapid growth of population has been another challenge. Whenever population is increasing, there is a challenge to feed them, to take care of their health. Healthcare is a challenge, education is a challenge. Okay, so all of these things is always a challenge when there is a growing population. Our agriculture sector has failed to generate much employment opportunities. However, more than 50% of the people, citizens of India, is employed in the agriculture sector, but we know that there is not enough work for all of them. Hence, people are underworking their potential. Our industries could not provide much job seekers. Basically, job opportunities in different sectors have not been there enough for the crowd and population of India. At the same time, people in India spend a lot of money on social occasions like marriages, festivals, etc. So social obligation is a lot, which leads to decline of a lot of families. If there is a marriage ceremony, people will spend their entire life savings, which is not good, which they could have used in their improvement of living standard, right? Which they do not do. Poor people hardly have any savings. They thus are forced to borrow money and become the victims of indebtedness, and they fall into debt traps as a result of this. So we have seen that poor people already do not have money. Even if they want to get started with farming and all, they need capital. Now where will they go ahead for this capital? Be it capital or for social obligation also. Okay, even in that case, what happens? They ultimately borrow money and they are not able to pay it back, and they fall in the debt trap. Okay, so that is another problem why poor people are becoming poorer instead of improvising their living standards. Now, joint family system has prevented people from doing hard work. That is another problem. One person is earning, is feeding everyone, and not everyone is making enough effort, which in general, if 7 people are there in a family, even if 6 were working, would have improved the living standard of this family in a great manner, but it does not happen. Unequal distribution of land and other resources is a major factor. We know few people have like more than 200 hectares of land, few people have hardly 2 hectares of land, and at the same time we also have people who are completely landless. So that is another problem. Okay, now what is the government doing for this? So the government has taken a twofold strategy for fighting this problem. One is promotion of economic growth, the another one is targeted poverty alleviation program. So there are certain programs like Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana, which aims, this program basically aims, which was started in 1993, to create self-employment opportunities for educated unemployed. So there are a lot of people who are educated but are not getting employment. So this program, under this program, they are working for the cause of betterment and employment of these people. Rural Employment Generation Program, REGP, which was launched in 1995 to create self-employment opportunities in rural areas. Then we have Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarozgar Yojana, which was started in 1999, aims at bringing the assisted poor families above the poverty line. Pradhan Mantri Gramodaya Yojana was launched in 2000, and then of course Antyodaya Anna Yojana for the poorest of the poor and elders, where they get food grains. Okay. Then we have few more programs. Narega is one very famous program which everyone knows about, where the government promises 100 days of assured employment, and if they are not employed, if they do not get a job, they are compensated for it. Okay, compensation is given instead if the government fails to do that, which means 100 days they are going to earn no matter what. And then of course the National Food Work Program was launched in 2004. Of course this is to assure food availability for everyone, but that does not assures us that everything is sorted, bacha. There are still a lot of challenges ahead which lie in front of us, which we need to fight. First of all, through poverty has declined, poverty reduction remains India's most compelling challenge, because we have understood the seriousness of it. Okay, the severity of it, because of the social dynamics, because of the economical dynamics, because of so many other factors which exists here in India, and which makes it a very deep rooted problem. We must broaden the definition of poverty from a minimum subsistence level of living to a reasonable level of living. So this is the very first thing that we need to do. Our problem is that the approach that we are taking, it basically says that the people, roti kapda aur makan, people should at least have food, shelter and clothes, which is not right. The lot of other things, education, good health, a lot of other things that people require in order to lead a healthy life. So it cannot be shortened and limited to the idea of basic living. It has to go to a reasonable living. So if khana mil jaye, just food is available is not enough. We have to go and think beyond that. Only when we rise up our bar of expectation is where we will strive to achieve it. Same as our scores. If you decide that, okay, I just have to touch 80%, you will actually somewhere land in 70 or 60%. But if you actually target for 100%, you will be closer to it. That is what is meant by this point. And then of course, bigger challenges before us are providing good health care, education, job security, and also achieving gender equality. Once we work on all of these segments, natural upliftment of all these societies will happen, which will result in betterment of the society, and poverty as a challenge will be faced very strongly by the citizens of India and the government. And with that, my dear students, we have come to the end of the chapter. In I think 30 minutes we have finished the entire chapter. So if you have understood the chapter, and if you like this one short session, it has helped you revise the entire thing absolutely, like fruitfully, do tell me in the comment section. Also tell me in the comment section that how did you like the session, and what else, what other chapters would you like me to do. Okay, I will see you guys in the next session. Till then, stay tuned. Make sure to like the video. Do not forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, because I will keep coming with such one short videos so that you do not miss on these. You keep getting the notification. Make sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. Help them also to prepare for their exams. And I will see you guys in the next session. Till then, stay home, stay safe, take good care of yourself, my dear students, and have a great day ahead. Bye bye.